So, Governor Wolf, when you were a student here at Hill School, what was your favorite pizzeria? Do you remember?
Yeah. Okay. Now this is going to surprise you, but pizzas were not that big when I was in school. That was that long ago.
That long ago?
Yeah, they really weren't.
Were they still eating gruel back then, or?
We did have electricity here. When I would go down to King Street. There was a bookstore that was run by the Ravels, and that's where I would go. There was the Dempsey Diner. Is that still around?
The building, but not the business.
Not the business. I mean, downtown Pottstown was where all the action was. We didn't go off campus a whole lot, but when we did, Pottstown was really a welcoming place. I loved being here. I was only here for 2 years, but it was a really nice town. I think Bethlehem Steel was still open and active. Mrs. Smith's pies were still made here.
You're doing great.
Kiwi polish was still being manufactured here, so it was a bustling town.
Did it remind you of York in a lot of ways? Because I've been to York and a lot of the same architecture and that sort of thing.
Yeah, a smaller version. I think when I was here, maybe 20,000 population. I think at that point,
That hasn't changed much.
York was about 50,000, maybe 60. Now it's 45. But yeah, about the same. Both were manufacturing towns. There was probably a little more Victorian architecture in York, but sort of the same kind of place. Yeah, I felt very much at home.
Well, so then you must understand a lot of the challenges that Pottstown faces, much like York does with the loss of manufacturing and that sort of thing. So, what do we do?
You get my budget passed. I came into this job because I was concerned about York and places like York and Pottstown, and I want to. I think there are things that places like Pottstown and York can do and have done, extraordinary things to make Pottstown work better, make people want to live in Pottstown. People in my daughter's generation, the 33 and 31, don't want to live in cornfields. They don't want to drive. My older daughter doesn't even have a driver's license. They want to live in places like Pottstown. But to do that, we've got to make sure that places like York and Pottstown and Erie and the small rural places in Elk County, Tioga County, and Perry County have a fair tax system so that you're not paying a higher tax rate just to live for the privilege of living in Pottstown. When I went to school here, Pottstown, like most towns, had economically mixed population, say rich and poor, middle class, and so the burden of supporting public education was spread among a wide array of people. Now we've concentrated poverty and in places like York and Pottstown, and so the irony of the property tax for education, which in York is 2/3 of the tax bite, I think here it's even higher than that.
It is.
The irony is that with a tax system that the state only shares 50% of, or 35% of the burden for funding public education. In small school districts, we have 500 in Pennsylvania. The disparities between school districts are so big. So as you can go right across the boundary into a more affluent suburb and have not only more money going into the school system, but a lower tax rate. So here we have the poorer the area, the less money we give you for your schools, and the more we charge you for it. And that just drives people out. So my budget is based on years of trying to look at the issues in places like York, is to say, let's level the playing field. Let's make a Pottstown in York. Let's not do as much as we've done. I think we always have to do some special deals and economic development stuff. But let's just make it a level playing field so that people aren't making a bad deal to live in a place like Pottstown, because in the end that's what they want. They want to be able to walk down the street and go to a bookstore. They want to be able to walk down the street and go to Dempsey's Diner. We can't do that. We don't have that choice anymore. So we ought to have that choice, and that's what my budget is trying to do. So that's what we do about it.
Well, your budget would reduce property taxes by 56% in Pottstown and add $1 million to their budget. So I think that there's some support for it here.
Good. That's good.
Thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you.